Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto Byte. Today is Wednesday, March 2nd. We've got some exciting price action as we are coming live here on the air. Bitcoin breaking above 45K, bringing a lot of alts with it, and that's coming on the back of the relatively flat traditional equity market. So plenty to dive into today. Looking like it's going to be an exciting Wednesday. And as always, we'll have our member webinar at 11:30 Central, where we'll go a lot more in depth with some of these assets and showcase some trade insights. But before we get started, CJ, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing well. Excited to take a look at prices. So without further ado, let's get started.
Yeah, let's dive into it. You want to dive into some charts?
Yeah, sure. Might as well just start by taking a look at Bitcoin. You had mentioned like a lot of relative strength. You see this all right?
Yes.
All right, cool. So one thing I wanted to draw or just point out, ever since we had kind of removed that downward sloping trend line, this is what's known as like a pivot point, where you actually in the trend break above that level, come back down, test the previous resistance, now form as new support, and then potentially go higher. So, just wanted to point that out. I think it adds even more credence or legitimacy to this particular move. Whereas now we can kind of remove that one and focus on the ascending triangle that is looking like it is on the verge of breaking out here. Sometimes you don't get 3 or 4 touches of that ascending level before it breaks upwards. Sometimes the market participants are just either very bullish or bearish depending on the direction of the triangle. But I think we've had a lot of really good news this week. I think the news around Citadel getting in and making markets with crypto, and Ken Griffin kind of saying that crypto has been one of the best financial stories of the last 15 years. It's very powerful for market participants. And as long as things don't get utterly terrible or worse than they've already been, things look pretty bright here for Bitcoin, at least in the short term.
Yeah, CJ, I'd agree with you. And specifically for Bitcoin as well. Sometimes when we talk about positive price action in the crypto market, it's sometimes, actually led by the altcoins and retail participation. But right now what we're seeing is actually Bitcoin really leading the charge. And we can, kind of observe that phenomenon by taking a look at Bitcoin dominance. We talked a lot about Bitcoin dominance this week because we've had this ascending triangle forming with this breakout level of 43%. And as you can see, we're back above it now. And what this tells us as we're breaking out is that although we're seeing positive price action across the board in many alts, like, Solana up 5%, Luna's up 6%, many alts are up today, but Bitcoin dominance still up, telling us that Bitcoin is leading the charge and that much of the positive speculation, the positive outlook currently on the crypto market is being fueled by positive speculation into Bitcoin. And I think that's a bit obvious when we consider, the fact that, we talked about how much of the ruble was swapped into Bitcoin as, Russian citizens fled out of the ruble. Not just citizens, wealthy oligarchs as well. Lots of direct flows of capital directly into Bitcoin, not so much into the altcoins. And as a result, we're getting this nice spike in Bitcoin dominance. Now, as you can see, we're actually approaching this level here, about 45%, which has been a critical level. But this might be a level that we just kind of break right through. The most important level in my mind is up here at 47%. This is the level that we reached at our peak Bitcoin dominance back in October, right before we kicked off, a run for a lot of these altcoins before ultimately kind of topping at the start of the new year. So, now that Bitcoin dominance is regaining ground, breaking out of this formation, I think now is a good time to be looking to deploy some capital into Bitcoin. And then once we get sort of a bullish engulfing candle, perhaps like this at the top of an uptrend, or just signs that this is weakening, this Bitcoin dominance trend is weakening, then I'm going to start, thinking about deploying some more capital heavily into the altcoins, because when Bitcoin dominance starts to fall, that doesn't mean that Bitcoin's price is going to go down. It just means that the alts are going to start to offer higher returns relative to what we're seeing with Bitcoin. So this chart, I think, is going to be very important over the next couple of, days to weeks here, as, Bitcoin is kind of leading the charge. But just be on the watch for a bullish engulfing candle as an indication that perhaps the alts are ready to run, and then take some profit on Bitcoin and perhaps look to, reallocate into some of the altcoins. So, that's what I'm seeing right now. It's always encouraging when Bitcoin's leading the charge. That's kind of what you want to see when you're trying to put in kind of a local bottom. CJ, you've talked a lot about, kind of putting in that higher low, and this is kind of ascending formation that we're kind of putting in since the bottom. I think that's supported by Bitcoin dominance and just kind of the general news driven narrative. So like you said, overall looking positive, many of the alts up as well. But just from a Bitcoin dominance perspective, the market's looking very strong today.
Yeah. Why don't we check out traditional markets a little bit, because they are up as well. Nice gap up in the SPX. Nasdaq's still down, so still seeing a lot of strength in the midst of just pretty much average consolidation. But still, I think that we could see some interesting stuff here. We talked about this bullish divergence on the SPX yesterday. That could definitely lead to a potential reaction rally up into the next resistance level. Any risk on environment here, where people are willing to put capital back into the market, I think is going to be good for crypto and Bitcoin. We've already seen it this morning with a lot of really interesting assets run, like Phantom, and then late last night, of course, Luna, really topping out at about almost $97, $96. So it's starting to look like, new all-time highs are not necessarily a matter of if, but when, being so close at this point now with a strong trend. So we've been following that one. We'll be looking at various trade setups along a lot of those altcoins in today's members only Doge of the day following this. But anything you'd like to add to just markets in general, Monty, and what you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, this is some pretty crazy volatility this morning, already back below 45K. But, still, I think the market is looking relatively strong. I think what we're seeing here is, perhaps some indecision from traditional equity markets. But, still, I think the technicals remain the same. Bitcoin needs to get above 45K, put that level below us as support. I think that bodes well for the entirety of the crypto market. But on the note of Luna, CJ, there is one thing I just wanted to quickly mention that, some members of our community were discussing yesterday, and that is some confluence we're getting with the TD sequential indicator here. So, we talk a lot about the TD sequential indicator. It's just a good momentum-based indicator. It can tell you when a trend is getting a bit exhausted. And whenever you get these nines, that either is typically a sell signal, it's a green nine, a sell nine, or a buy signal on a buy nine, like this one here. And, what it tells you is that momentum from the direction of the trend is beginning to, get exhausted. And what's interesting here is this very nice confluence we have at these highs from these two nines. As you can see here, back on December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, right? Almost, before we topped here, we put in this TD sequential 9. Yes, we did, kind of climb up a little bit higher, but those were kind of sold in too hard, some indecision days before ultimately correcting and, coming back down. Now we're back up on a TD sequential 9, pushing right up against that critical level. So I think that, we have, two clear options here. I think that one, like you said, CJ, an inevitable breakout to the all-time highs is definitely possible. I think the first hurdle to get over will be $96. If Luna can get above this for a significant amount of time, not just a quick wick and then back down, that would be very, very encouraging to me, because then again, you're putting this critical level below you. And obviously then we have the critical level of $100. It seems to me like lots of automated trading systems, are taking profit close to this level. And we're seeing it again here. And that's not too surprising given, this very strong run up we've seen in the last week here. So I think with Luna here, you're going to have a couple different opportunities to play this. If we do get rejected today, Bitcoin does not manage to break above 45K, and Luna does not, subsequently get above this $96 level, then, just perhaps wait for it to, pull back a little bit. We talked yesterday how it could potentially pull back to the $70 level here, where we've seen support in the past. This is something I'll keep an eye on if we start to pull back today. But to the other side, I think the next thing we need to watch for is a break above that critical $96 level, because I think if it does get above that level, it will start to move very, very quickly. That's just what we've seen historically with Luna breaking into new all-time highs. And, we have been sold into relatively hard at this top. So I'm just worried. I'm just, curious to see how much more sell pressure we can have as we continue to flirt with this level here today. So just something I want to keep on my radar. Obviously we can go a bit more in depth in the Doge of the day. Also, we did publish a Bitcoin trade insight as well, contingent on a possible pullback. So we'll also dive into that. But I think that's about all I got. Anything you want to add, CJ, for today's Daily Crypto Byte?
No, that's it. Keep it a short and sweet one today. Like you said, we'll be doing our member webinar. So thank you guys all for watching. Hope you have a great day in the world wherever you're at, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.